I wanted to say hi before I let everyone in. Oh,
good luck. Good luck,
I'll let
Heidi.
Steve too. Steve, where are you? I know you're here. Why don't I see you? Daniel Gomez. Oh, there you are. Okay. Let me shut my door.
Good luck, you guys. I know it'll rock. See ya.
Is my background the right way? It's good?
Looks like it to me. Looks good to me.
Okay. Awesome.
Bye.
All right, here we go.
Hello,
Peace.
Barbara.
I'll let everybody in.
Enjoying retirement, I hope.
Everybody, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We'll get started in, like right now. So that was a fast few minutes. Let's see. Yep, 10:30. Right? Looks like everyone that was in the waiting room is in. One more. Let me just admit the last couple of people here and we'll get started. Feel free to chat amongst yourselves for just a second.
And Heidi, if you want to make me a co-host, I'll monitor the.
I will, yes. All right, I think we're ready. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Heidi Baynes. I'm a coordinator of EdTech here at RCOE. And Steve is here along with me. Some of you were in the session just before it was Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve Hickman, and I definitely working with the esports program here at RCOE, and I'm glad that you're taking an interest. We want to grow this program so that it is something that really all schools participate in. So thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. All right. So the goal today is to talk a little bit about esports, how you can get started in your school and district, and specifically about our RCOE Esports League. But if you're from a school out of the county, what we're going to be talking about today are things that you could apply at the school site level if you don't have a county program available to you yet. We know that San Bernardino County is just about to launch theirs. So if you're here from San Bernardino County, that will be coming to you very soon, that opportunity to join the San Bernardino County Esports League. And I'll go ahead and get started. Now, I can't see the chat right now, so let me know if there's something that I need to address, and we'll go ahead and move on. Again, this is us. Steve is here, and myself is Heidi, and we're both coordinators here at RCOE, and we work with the esports program. So esports, if you're unfamiliar with what it is, it's a form of competition that's facilitated through computer gaming. So most commonly, it takes the form of organized multiplayer online video game competitions. So one of the misconceptions we hear is that esports means playing sporting video games. So you have to be playing football or soccer or one of those games that are sports related. But esports encompasses all types of video games. So your students can be participating in an esports league, not necessarily playing an official sports game. So for example, the one that we're going to talk most about today is Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, which is what we've been using for RCOE esports. Although there's a whole host of other games that are popular. You've probably heard of League of Legends, Fortnite, Watch. All of these are also played at a very high level, very high stakes in the esports arenas. And Steve, feel free to jump in anytime.
Sure.
So in 2017, esports revenue, 655 million. In 2022, it's predicted $3 billion. And this figure is about a year old. Is that right, Steve? So I don't even know, that might be higher now. It's about a year ago that we pulled that one. Esports scholarships, $100 million in 2020. So one of the reasons that we got involved with esports are the scholarship opportunities and the higher ed connection. It was a way that we saw to connect students to what they're already doing in life to where they could go in higher ed. There's a wealth of scholarships available to students, and esports is one of the ways that they can get those. So it gives students another avenue to reach their goals or head down a higher ed track, even if they're not involved in sports or other academic scholarships. Esports is just another avenue. It opens the door to more students to connect to their school and more students to connect to a higher ed pathway. And then this is a quote. I'll read it to you, but there's a reason there's a stereotype of gamers as basement dwellers, and that's because gaming has historically been a very lonely activity. Instead of being loners, now they're a part of a community. They're contributing to the school ecosystem, and what they're passionate about is being rewarded. These previously disenfranchised young people are being accepted, and in some cases, celebrated. And you can all probably agree, I haven't seen the chat, but there's this stereotype of gaming that it is kids sitting in their basement, not talking to anybody, being very antisocial. And the reality is modern gaming is extremely social. I have a 13-year-old son, and he's not even a super heavy gamer, but so much of his life takes place in those games. And when I hear them talk to one another, they're not even talking about the game that much. They're getting on the phone like we did in the 80s and 90s. Sorry, I'm dating myself, but they're getting on the phone like we did and talking for hours, and that is their social circle. And so that gaming piece is no longer just a solitary activity, it's a social activity. And they're working together, they're collaborating, they're thinking critically, they're talking back and forth about strategy. There's a lot going on in the game that is based around being a community and working together. And so those stereotypes are really being dismantled. And I know for us, we appreciate the community that's formed around esports, and particularly at the school site, where you have students that maybe historically felt disenfranchised or felt like they weren't connected to their school in the traditional ways that schools have always connected with students. Now they have a place to be and a place to go and a place to connect.
Right. With over 90% of students playing video games, it just seems a natural connection to get them to connect to their schools. Mm-hmm.
Right. And Steve, you can even talk a little bit about your son and his esports. He's heavily involved in esports.
Yes.
Yeah.
He competes competitively with Super Smash Brothers, and he's, semi-pro, maybe you might say, but he really enjoys that. And he's been helping us in our esports program as well, being one of the shoutcasters. So we're looking at ways that we can get this as perhaps even a career for him, because if you can do what you love as a career, like I get to do as a educational technologist, then that is a beautiful thing. So.
Are there any questions that need to be answered, or should I keep moving on? We good? Yeah. Okay. So this is a video from our tournament last summer. I wanted to give you a feel for what it looks like in person, and then we're going to talk about our pivot to online esports and how you can get started at your school or district. So a little peek at what last summer looked like for our esports league and our students involved in it.
Heidi, I can't hear that sound.
Oh, no sound on there? Shoot.
No.
Were you all able to see it?
Yeah, we saw it.
Apologize for that. I probably did not click the share my computer sound with that. But that was a glimpse into our esports tournament last year. We were really excited to launch, and we were doing these in-person tournaments and in partnership with Norco College as well. And we were kind of in the middle of a tournament series in March, literally the week that everything shut down. We had our semifinals planned, and we had to postpone those and are looking at ways to continue that tournament eventually, but that caused us, just like everyone else, to have to pivot to a new model of how to bring esports and our esports league to our districts. So let's talk about getting started, and we'll kind of circle back to what it looks like to do this online as well. So if you're looking to get started at your school or at your district, one of the first places you want to go, one of the first things you want to look at is NACEF's site. I'll go ahead and click on that. You can see that?
Yes.
Okay. So NACEF is the North American Scholastic Esports Federation, and they provide a wealth of resources to help you get started either at the school level or district level with an esports team. You can see here as these splash screens go by, there's lots of different games that they're sponsoring and tournaments that they host. And so if you are in a district or in a school and not part of necessarily the RCO Esports League, you can form a club or a team and play directly through NACEF. So that's one of the options if you want to get started and you want that support. NACEF provides those materials and those resources. And in some cases, they even provide the licenses for the games. They're also about the scholastic piece of esports. And so if you look at their site when you have a little more time, I'm not going to click through the whole site. You'll notice that it's not just about the game, it's about the community. It's about the connection. It's about a club where it's not just kids playing video games, but you have kids doing the media. You have kids doing graphic design. You have kids doing fundraising. You have someone that's managing the team. And so esports is about more than just playing the game. It's about everything that goes into having a team or a club and supporting that team or club in the activities that go with that club, just like any other club that you would have on campus.
So Heidi, I'm sorry. So for NACEF, only high schools can register their team through NACEF. Middle schools are welcome to participate in RCO esports, but they're not able to register their team with NACEF.
Read my mind. That was literally the next thing out of
sorry about that.
No, you're exactly right. So NACEF is high school only. Middle school is coming, but right now only high school through NACEF. But yeah, through our league, you can join your middle schoolers. We don't have an elementary piece yet, but right now grades 6 through 12 at Riverside County schools are welcome to join our RCOE Esports League. You know what, I'm going to skip while I'm here and just show you, because this is at the end of my presentation, but NACEF also has a curriculum. So if you are at a high school and you're looking to go even deeper than a club or a team, NACEF has an approved A to G curriculum that runs esports through language arts. And so they have these four, there we go. They have these 4 courses that are already approved. Of course, you'd have to go through board approval and that whole process to get a new course in your district or school. But for English 9, it's game design. And so you're still focusing on the language arts standards, but it's around game design. And then 10 is entrepreneurship, 11 marketing, and 12 organizers. And so it's not just playing the game or having a club. You can even go deeper with this and actually offer courses that incorporate esports into the language arts curriculum. And the next piece is, and again, on NACEF's side, it kind of goes through some of this, but once you have a club set up with NACEF, you're going to need a general manager and or coaches, and sometimes that can be the same person. You don't necessarily need to know how to play the game, though your coaches will need to know something about the game to help the students along. In most cases, the students already know so much about the game. They just need someone to facilitate the opportunity to have a club and not necessarily someone there to show them how to play. But it is really important that there's someone that's championing the club and can stay in connection with either our league or NASEF, so that the students, you know, keep the club moving and continue that momentum and receive the opportunities that come with being part of that club. Another important piece is get your stakeholder input. We know that esports can still be a hard sell in some places. And so, you know, bringing on parents, administrators, students, teachers, a group of people that can provide stakeholder input will really help with the buy-in at your school or district if you need that. So, you know, forming a committee, talking about the games that are going to be played, talking about whether this is a club or a class, you know, get as much input as you can from a variety of different stakeholders that will increase the support, hopefully the funding, and kind of head off some of the problems that you might face if, you know, an esports league just pops up without anyone ever having had any input into it. Student leadership is an important part of the team. This is a great way to get students involved, particularly students that might not have been involved in other things. This is a chance for them to step up, be leaders, and show what they know to other students. It's really a great place for students to shine that maybe haven't had an opportunity before. Proper permissions and criteria for joining a club, along with the code of conduct. Those are all already available on NASEF, but talk about that with your club and with your stakeholders. Is there a GPA standard? Is it a 2.0? Is it a 3.0? What rules do students need to follow in order to be part of the team? Have those things decided and discussed before you launch your club or your team. Steve, did you want to chime in there?
No, I think you got it.
Okay. And one of the things, I know some of you here are part of our league and have been part of our tournaments. I appreciate that. And at any point, if you wanted to pop in, feel free to add to what I'm saying. But I know when we were seeing students in person and seeing students as part of our semifinals, it was really great to speak with them and hear about their experiences in esports. With students, you know, tell us how thrilled they were to have an opportunity to be part of something when they've never been part of anything before. And the piece that sold me on esports, because I was kind of hesitant the first time I heard it, but was the idea that some kids have never had the opportunity to be on a team or have a coach. And for me, you know, I grew up on teams and, you know, playing sports and being coached. And that idea that students could go through K-12 and never have a team or coaching experience, to me, was like heartbreaking, because I feel like most students and most people get a lot out of those experiences. And so that really hit home with me the first time I heard someone say that. Like, do you realize that there's kids that have never been part of a team or never been chosen for a team? And this, for me, was instantly, I was hooked. Like, this is a place to bring our kids in that maybe we might lose. Connect them to school, connect them to academics, connect them to friends. And we've got a whole new group that we're reaching that maybe we were overlooking before. How am I on time here? All right. So equity is a piece that we talk about a lot in our office. You know, esports can be tricky because there's infrastructure and equipment and games and a whole lot of things involved in getting your club and team going. You know, the stereotype of it being mainly males involved in esports is still out there. It's still true. Our league is mainly made up of male gamers. We're seeing a few more females come in, but we talk about how do we get more females involved in gaming and what are the barriers to girls joining the league. But ensuring equity is something we're really working on, and pivoting to online has made that a little more of a hurdle, but we've got some things in the works that we're hoping closes some of those equity issues for us. Some of you guys that are on here are funding these through your districts, and you might be able to chime in and tell us how you're doing that, because the way that this is funded is different in different districts. Our league is completely free, but districts fund, or gather the equipment in all different ways. I know a school that we work with in Temecula, they bring Nintendo Switches to the club because they have those at home. But that might not be something that students at your school have the luxury of doing. So the schools are providing Switches that stay at the school and stay dedicated to the esports team. And so there's a variety of different ways that these things are funded. But our goal is to get access to any student that wants it and wants to be part of the esports team. But the way districts do that varies. Steve, did you want to talk to grants or anything like that?
Well, one of the things that we've done, we've purchased gift cards for students who may not be able to afford the Nintendo Online account, and so we can sponsor students who are new students who want to get involved. Unfortunately, we can't provide the equipment in terms of maybe the Nintendo Switch, but if the barrier is just having an online account and they're new to the league, and that we definitely can sponsor them. I think it's $19.99 to have an annual Nintendo Online account, and we do have a means of getting students started. We of course have to limit it to a few people per school, but if that's something if that is the barrier, then please let us know, and we can help the students in that way. Okay.
So
We're also working through RCOE Foundation, trying to get sponsors. And once we do that, we'll be able to provide more in terms of prizes, in terms of scholarships to schools. And so we're really excited about the possibilities, and we're working hard to really make this an educational, focus just as much as it is, the leadership and the fun for students as well. So.
Thanks, Steve. Mm-hmm. So with equity as a concern, when the league started, we started with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate because it's played on a Nintendo Switch, which is a lower starting point cost. So if a school was looking to invest and to get started, it's easier to fund, a $300 Switch than it is a multi-$1,000 gaming PC. And so that was our choice in trying to lower that barrier for people to join. Other schools have bigger gaming setups and do other things, but for our league, right now it's a Nintendo Switch, and that's all students need to get started. In person, a couple of Switches at a school site, and students can share those Switches, and you've got your club and your team. Additionally, the Switch, when you're in person, does not need to be online, because I know that that's a concern that parents and teachers have, is that gaming culture online can sometimes be a little bit little toxic. And so, we started with the Switch, not connected to the network. Kids played in person, just like you did on old school consoles, no internet, no chat. And that was working very, very well. It worked really well at the school sites, really no issues with that. Students went to their clubs, they played the games, and whatever was happening in the room was all that the coach or the GM had to worry about. There was no online component. However, with our current times that we're in, we had to shift to an online model to continue the league and keep the kids playing. And so RCOE Esports Online was born, and I'll show you a little bit about it. But Steve was talking about the Nintendo Online account, and that was the piece for us that was a barrier right away, is that schools had purchased Switches or students had Switches at home, but then they didn't necessarily have the online accounts. And one of the things that coaches reported to us was, they can use the Switches, but they can't purchase the online account or maintain that account. And so Steve was talking about our desire to provide gift cards to some of those students that might have access to a Switch, but not an online account. But let me move on and tell you how it works. So students have a Nintendo Online account, and our league facilitates students connecting with one another so that they can play these matches against each other and continue representing their schools in our esports league. Oops. And maybe we can, I don't know, put this link in the chat, Steve, so that people can look at it. But when students take place in our online tournaments, they go to this site and they click here and they register using a form. And the form, whoops.
It's not open
right now.
Just yet. Is that okay?
Yeah, but students register, it's just a Google form. They register on the Google form. On our end, we get their information. And then from that, we're able to set up the brackets. Where my challenge brackets go. And we use a site that's free and it's called Challenge. And this is an example of our July 14th tournament that was held online. But students are connected through their Nintendo online accounts. The brackets are populated. They connect with each other online. They play their match, and then they report back to us on a form that says who won and the score, and we fill these brackets in as the tournament goes. So the kids are playing at home against each other, but they're reporting to us because we're watching the forms and I'll show you Twitch in a second, and watching the tournament and updating the brackets as it goes. So this particular tournament that you can see on the screen starts at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it goes to about 8 o'clock at night that the students are playing back and forth, and we're updating the brackets. Once the semifinals are complete, you can see here at the end, the next day we play the finals, and those finals are streamed on our RCOE Esports Twitch channel. You want to add, Steve? Good?
Yes. Well, I think you just described it, though. I think one of the things that we have implemented, though, is that through a lot of these tournaments can be handled through several different sites or esports sites. One of the things that bothered us, and I think Heidi is just pointing it out right now, is that many of these organizations don't have privacy agreements. They will advertise to our students and things like that, and those are not things we want to encourage students to do. So one of the solutions that we came up with is students are communicating with one another through a Remind, and we're using remind.com for having students arrange their matches, and it has worked out very well. So
yeah, thank you. This is exactly where I was going with that, is they connect with each other through Nintendo online. That's how they actually find each other to play the match. But the communication happens in Remind, which I bet many of you are familiar with, which gives us the opportunity to also communicate. You can see here some of the rules that Steve has posted on the day of the tournament, but it's been a great way to facilitate the tournament, keep up with the students, allow them to connect with one another without the worry of some of these outside agencies that we don't know what their student data privacy policies are, and so we're not going to get involved with that. But Remind has been great. So, if you're looking to start a small team at your school, 5 or 6 kids maybe, and you're connected via Remind or other messaging tool that you're already using successfully, that's been a great way to just get it up and going. We didn't need anything fancy. It's free. And so, it's not some big esports platform we're using. We're using Remind, we're using Google Forms and Challenge, which is free to facilitate the communication and facilitate the gameplay. Were there other questions there? We good? So students sign up, then they sign up for Remind. That way they can communicate with each other. During the tournament, they talk to each other and trade their codes online. And then when the tournament's going on, they report back who is winning, and they have to fill out a form and some information there. But after we get their information on who has won the match, we update the bracket in Challenge. And the students can go to the site that I showed you, our online Esports League site, and this is where they get all their information. So they register and report results right here. They can find the rules here, and we have a leaderboard that Steve has developed that's fabulous. I'll show it since I'm here. And you can see the different kids participating in the league and their ranking system. So kids will be able to see who's #1 in our league based on the matches they've played and the scores they've received in our tournaments. So our finals are streamed on Twitch. And so I'll show you this one. You can just see a little bit of what it looks like. This is from the 15th. I probably can't hear the sound, huh?
It's really an exciting game once you get to watch it. And our shoutcasters do a great job because they love the game as well, so they're excited about the play as well. So good.
I don't know if this goes the whole 6 minutes, Steve.
Oh, doesn't look like it.
There we go.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So you get a feel there for what Super Smash Brothers Ultimate looks like, and this is what it looks like for our finals. And so they're in these battle arenas, and they meet up and they play against one another. And other kids that play in the tournament but aren't necessarily in the finals get to engage and watch as well. So it's been a great way to reconnect the students when we lost that in-person opportunity. But now, we can kind of recreate the feeling virtually. And it's not the same as the big, in-person tournament, just like it's not the same if you're in the Coliseum versus watching it on TV. But it's been really fun to watch them online and see the kids interact with each other online, because this is, they know Twitch. This is where they live anyway. So it's a natural place to host the stream and for them to get involved with their league there. All right. Questions? I haven't looked at the chat, so.
I've been trying to keep up with it. So.
Okay. So specific to our league, again, if you want to be part of our league, so the students register using the form, but if you're interested in coaching or managing a team for your site or for your district, you can contact us and we'll send you the documents you need to get started. One of the things we need from coaches is a roster of your students, just so we can cross-reference that with the students that sign up for the tournament, because, we want to have some control over, making, identifying the student, making sure the student is actually who the student is, right? We don't want necessarily strangers joining the league. So a roster from the coaches that has your student name, so we can just verify when a student signs up that it's that name and that school before we allow them into the tournament.
So Heidi, can I add on that?
Yeah.
That point is that one of our main goals is we really do want to get students connected to their school. And so having them go through the school is just one of those strategies that will help students to find that connection where they'll have that motivation to improve their grades, to be part of that school community. And as soon as we get the scholarships going, that'll really, I think, bring them into the school community, because if students win, our plan is that the student doesn't necessarily win the scholarship. That scholarship will go to the school and be available to all students. So we just need to get those sponsors. And if you know anyone that is interested in sponsoring us, please let us know. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. That's a good point, because we don't want students bypassing their schools and signing up directly with us. We want them going through their schools, talking with their teams, collaborating with their coaches. And so we want the school to be our kind of conduit to the league. We don't want the kids bypassing that. So if you're interested, if you teach in Riverside County and you want to sign up, let us know and we can connect with you and get your school started and get that roster from you. And then your students can sign up and we can cross-reference that. But yeah, thank you, Steve, for bringing it up. The school connectedness is the main goal, and we want to make sure kids are doing that, connecting with their school and their team first before they're joining tournaments. But as far as the kids go, once they do sign up for a tournament and once you're all good to go and authorized to be part of the tournament, they register. We give them the codes to sign up for Remind, We give them the information to set up the switch so that it's ready for the tournament, because it needs to be set up a certain way to participate in the tournament. And then they report their results during the tournament using the same form that they use to register, so that we can update the brackets. And then, the rules, if you happen to click on the rules document, is lengthy. So I'm not going to go through it. It's, I don't know, a couple pages, I think, at this point, Steve. Mm-hmm. It counts for things like forfeits or inappropriate play. There's a code of conduct. And so there's a whole host of rules to go through with your students as well, to make sure that play is fair, players are kind and adhering to the code of conduct, and that their switch is set up correctly. So there are quite a few rules that have to be adhered to, and that students need to go through and read before they take part in the tournament. Anything else on that, Steve?
No, there was a question in the chat about how many students are on the teams, and I was typing it, but I guess I could just say it. Yeah. For our online tournaments, those are individual tournaments. So in that case, students can just register during the registration period. For our in-person tournaments, it's a team of 8 with 5 main players at a time, and then 3 alternates, which you can switch out, as you see fit, or which the coaches can switch out as they see fit.
And for the in-person tournaments, I didn't address this, but the way that worked on our end is we hosted the semifinals and the finals. And so the way that the teams formed at the site level or the district level, that was up to the district or site. We don't have any role in how you decide to set that up. We recommend and give you resources, but however you recruit your team at your site, or wherever you form teams at your district, that's up to you. But for our semifinals, the way it worked in person was that we allowed each district to send 2 teams to represent the district. So it had to be a team from 2 separate schools, not an all-star team. So like a district can't take all the best kids in the district and send one all-star district team. It's individual schools come and compete just like you would in some kind of like CIF, right? You have, your football rivals, kind of the same idea. So it might be 2 high schools that come to the semifinals, but not combo teams. Now that we're online, the nice part is that if your high school has 20 kids playing esports and they all want to play in the tournament, you can just send them because they're playing as individuals. We're not locked into a team size or the size or capacity of a room, right? So in person, like I said, it works a little bit differently, but online, students are playing as individuals and your team can send as many students as they wish. Did I answer? Let me go back to the chat here. Oh, Steve's back. All right. So during the tournament, and I've already talked about this, but one of the things that happens during the tournament online is we do send updates on Remind, so students can stay up to date on what's happening in the tournament. There's rule reminders, there's announcements for the finals. All of those things take place in Remind. They check the brackets during the tournament to see who they're going to play next. And so as those brackets update, students check to see, okay, who's my next opponent? They go to Remind, they contact that person, they get their Nintendo friend code, and then they link up and they play. So that, and then they report their results. And watch the finals on Twitch the next day. Challenge, you saw this is what it looks like. Again, it's free. I've linked it here, and I believe you guys have access to the slides in Sched. If not, I can give you them in the chat here. But I've linked all of these resources that we're talking about, so you can visit our RCO Esports RCOE page from RCOE's website. You can visit our RCOE online page. You can see Challenge. You can see NASEF. All of that is linked in these slides, so you can go back and reference. Again, Twitch is where we host the streaming. If you'd like to follow our Twitch page and watch along with the tournaments as they continue this summer and into the fall, we'd love to have you join and love to have you watch. If you're just curious to see how it works, you can click there and join and follow, and we'd love to have you as part of our audience. Lost my train of thought. Oh, so our tournaments online are going to continue at least through the fall. We're not going to be having any in-person events this first semester. So if you're looking to get started or get your feet wet in esports, it will be with this online version. So please reach out, join follow our Twitch page, take a look at what it looks like and get a feel for what the online version of our RCOE Esports League looks like. So for students, students have to have a Switch and an online account. Schools can decide to check out a Switch to their student. I know there's a lot of things that come with that. So however your school or your district decides to either help students have Switches or not help them, if they're responsible for getting their own Switch, they have to have a Switch and they have to have an online account. So students have to have those two things to participate. In our league, students have to be enrolled in a Riverside County middle or high school. Charter schools as well are fine. Anything that's in Riverside County, that's secondary 6 through 12, students are welcome to participate. And like I said before, coaches and advisors must submit a roster of eligible students for online competition. We really want to be connected with that school and making sure we're reaching out and working with the school as a partner so that students aren't bypassing school and joining directly. So coaches, advisors, please submit a roster of eligible students for our reference. And then NASEF sets a 2.0 GPA requirement. Other districts have decided to set it differently. Again, that's bringing together your stakeholders and deciding what works for your school site. If you're playing just with NASEF, it's a 2.0 GPA requirement. And they also have a code of conduct that needs to be signed and submitted on their platform to indicate that students understand the code of conduct.
Yes, and I would add regarding the GPA, I just remember, again, my own experience as a student, and I was a gamer, but the only games were like Space Invaders and Asteroids back then, of course. But I spent a lot of time playing those games, and I wasn't, all that interested in school. And so having that opportunity, and I didn't have a 2.0 GPA, by the way. And so I hate to admit it, even though I have a doctorate now, but
oh, wow.
It's true. So, but elevating that GPA might deter, people like me who are capable, but not just willing. Okay. And so in that respect, 2.0, I would recommend at least a 2.0 GPA. So, okay.
Thanks. I like that story. Okay. So again, one more reminder. So if you're at a school site, and you're not necessarily looking to launch a full-scale esports program right now, start small, recruit for your club or team, send out the message, see who's interested. I bet there's a ton of students interested, but start there, recruit, say this is coming, see who's interested. Hold your first meeting. It's going to be virtual this time, right? So set up that meeting, see who's interested, and hold your online meeting. Establish your code of conduct. First thing, decide, how is your team going to function? What are the rules for your team? What are the consequences for your team? Get their input on what that code of conduct looks like. You can download a code of conduct from NASEF, and that's a great place to start. You can start there and discuss those things with your team. So it's not something that you have to write fresh or you have to come up with. You can get that from NASEF and use it with your team to discuss and alter as needed. Then determine what you're going to play and your equipment needs. Maybe students have these at home. Maybe you're going to need to get something funded through your school site, but determine what you're going to play and what you're going to need. If your intention is to play with our league, the Switch is the best thing to get right now because we have Super Smash Brothers now, but we have plans to bring other games down the pipe, and they will likely still be on the Switch this year. And so if you're looking at a broader range of joining our league and being part of it this year, we highly recommend the Nintendo Switch. for just getting your feet wet, getting your club started at a lower price, and in a way that will facilitate the games that we're playing. And establish a schedule. So especially in your online environment, when are you going to meet with your club? How often? Are they meeting separately to play and compete against one another? Are they, do they have their own Twitch channel? Are they streaming with each other? Establish your official schedule as a club. In a virtual environment, it's going to feel different, right? It won't feel as official as, show up Tuesday at 3 in room 102. You're going to need to have a schedule. We meet at this time on this day, and make sure that they're coming and progressing in their club and team duties. So establishing that schedule and getting their input, what works for them. With this virtual schedule, it might not be as easy to say everyone can come at the same time after school. Times might be different for different students. Their home schedules are different. So as best you can, establish a schedule that works for the students and for you. And then
great question in the chat about first-person shooters. It's not our plan to use any games that have first-person shooters or realistic violence, and so we'll try to stay away from those, and at least until the climate changes, because I think that yeah, that's the plan so far. Okay, so.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. I don't think I addressed that directly, but right now we have Super Smash, and our plan is probably the next one is going to be Rocket League. I don't want to say that as a promise, but that's what we're looking at, and that is monster trucks playing soccer. And so and also a team game. So that's kind of what we're looking at next. We don't quite have that worked out, but that's in the plans. We have a few minutes here. I know a couple of you have either been to our tournaments or have students participating. Does anyone want to chime in and talk a little bit about your school or your team experience? No? All right. I know Monster Truck Soccer. It's fun too. I played it. And the great thing, I won't get too much into Rocket League, but it is multi-platform. And so while we're going to talk about it in terms of the Switch, if kids have gaming computers at home or other setups, we're hopeful that that will open the door for kids that maybe don't have a Switch to also play. But more information coming on that later. Right now, we're going to host our Super Smash tournaments as the year gets started, and then work on bringing more games in as kids come back to school and our league starts to grow and becomes a little more established online. Oh, yes. You want to talk to that, speak to that, Steve? So other sports? Yeah. Football, baseball? Yeah.
Yes, especially as the seasons get canceled or delayed, having online Madden and NBA 2K, definitely something that we are investigating. So it's just a matter of a practical way for us to do it. So
yeah, I imagine Madden being hugely popular as we head into here. Yeah. Any other questions? So because we are K6, are we allowed to have just, you could have a 6th grade team? Sure, your 6th graders at elementary school?
I did include a link to our registration packet. So if you are a Riverside County school, that link should get you everything that you need to build your roster and get the registration information. Basically, you would just get those files, and you can share that folder with us. And that way we're not exchanging a lot of paperwork. You share the folder with us, get those registration packets and your rosters built for your students, and that will get you started. And again, if you do have students that are interested, we can help you build that roster, because as they register for our online tournaments, we can build that roster for you and share it with you. We just need to know who to share it with, because one of the problems that we're encountering is that we don't know who at schools or who at the district is the person we would contact for esports. Okay, so.
And to the elementary question in the chat, there are elementary esports opportunities. We're just not currently sponsoring them here through our office, but there's Minecraft builds and other opportunities for elementary students to engage with esports, and maybe sometime in the future that might be something we add. But if you are at an elementary site and you're looking for elementary opportunities, there's competitive Minecraft. There's other opportunities for your little ones to start engaging with esports. And so look into that, or you can contact us and we can kind of help you talk through that or connect you with someone that might be able to help you with that. So if you're elementary, it doesn't mean that you can't take part. It's just going to look a little different than it does for our secondary students that can participate in our league. Yeah, the alternative schools have been a great place to start with the esports. We have a lot of participation amongst our alternative schools, highly engaging. And when you talk about connecting kids to school, an alternative school is a great place to have another way for kids to connect. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, comments, anything we can answer here on the fly? If there's anything else you want to discuss with us, you have our contact information. I'll put mine here, and Steve as well.
Well, I will say that the schools that are involved, there is a great deal of excitement around esports. Mm-hmm. And it really is, if students hear that there's an esports club, I think Jonathan mentioned that you won't have a problem finding students to join. So all they need is the opportunity, and we're trying to provide at least another opportunity for students to compete in a positive environment. And I think that's what it's all about. It's about education. It's about connecting students to school. It's about really just allowing students to have fun in a positive environment. And we're working hard to establish that. So.
Yeah, the funding's tricky. People have found ways to do it, creative ways, different ways. And so, talk to your district or talk to your school site admin and find out what might be available to help fund some of this. Yeah, too many to join. And it's been fun to see at the district level, as districts that have multiple teams within their district, the teams competing against each other. I know Paris Union, a couple of you guys were here, but they have several high schools that have esports teams, and those high schools have a little bit of an esports rivalry going against one another, which is fun within the district. A friendly rivalry is always fun, whether it's football or esports or basketball. So,
and in our in-person tournaments, districts are only allowed to send 2 teams to the semifinals. So districts will conduct their own internal tournament to decide which 2 teams get to go to the RCOE semifinals. So we typically get involved at that point when you send your 2 teams. So in that way, we're not, again, it's not too big to manage, and again, many more students can participate, but that's at the site level or at the district level. And then the two teams that emerge from there come to the semifinals at RCOE.
And Sandra, I love hearing or seeing that comment. That's a fabulous school in San Jacinto Unified, and they're definitely going to be part of our esports program as well. So, and Hemet as well has been a big part of our esports program. So thank you for mentioning them. They're very supportive. Oh, we're up. Our time is up. Okay, so please contact us if you need more information or more help setting it up. Let us know. We're happy to talk you through it. And thank you so much for being here. Enjoy your next session and the rest of the day Google Camp. Steve?
And that link to the registration, I'm going to pop it one more time because that can give you everything that you need to get started with us. And that will allow your students to participate in our individual online tournaments as well. So thank you very much. Okay.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Bye-bye.
I'll leave the room open for just a second for that link, and then I'll close it up. Thank you, Barbara. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
close the room up.
All right, take care.
Everyone.